Well, folks, I may have been wrong. I may have been wrong about the conclusion, the end state, when all this stuff was going to end. You may remember late February, early March, I made a video, and I remember when we were told that this whole, excursion, not a war, I guess it now is a war, was going to take no more than 6 weeks. I made a prediction that I thought it was only going to take 6 weeks. We're well past that. And I'm ready to eat crow when it comes to the fact that we're still at it. Now, what does that mean? That means that we have to be sold on continuing to do stuff when it comes to Israel, Iran, in the United States. Picture this. What if I told you 9 weeks ago your gas prices were going to be higher, the cost of your goods may be going up just a little bit, we would have lost at over a dozen U.S. service members, hundreds more injured. We don't know exactly how many have been injured because we haven't been fully told that. And we would have 2 or 3 carrier strike groups along with 1 or 2 at all times, Marine Expeditionary Units, all in the same region, probably 25% of our deployed Navy, maybe even higher, all at once. And we were doing all this so that Iran could possibly not have a nuclear weapon. And oh, by the way, we can also tear down their ballistic missile programs a little bit or totally, their Navy a lot of bit or totally, make sure that they can't support proxies in the regions a little bit or totally. You would just have to sacrifice all that stuff. Would you be on board with that? My answer would be no. And I think I've been stating that this whole time. Now, I don't want you to get confused that we're in it. So anything tactically that our military does, I support them getting small W's every time we do something. We go out and we want to do an extraction. I want a W. I don't want service members getting hurt. If we go and board a vessel that we're saying is sanctioned and we're going to go inspect what's on there, I want a W. I don't want anybody getting hurt. If we're launching or we're doing different attacks, I want a W. I don't want anybody getting hurt. But the strategic level planning that comes from the civilians at top, we're allowed to question why the heck we're doing certain things. We're at the point now where we might be in this for the long haul. This just gives me the rhyming cadence of the OIF and OEF. We were told it'd be 6 weeks for that. Matter of fact, we got a whole speech by President Bush, mission accomplished speech, when he was in front of a naval vessel and everybody clapping it up, and then we would go on to be there for an additional 20 plus years. I hope we're not in it in the same way in this war as we were in that one, but we are in it. And every time I see people taking W's and other people taking losses, it just brings a lot of disappointment to me. We got people buying the dip when it comes to oil prices and becoming insanely rich on a Sunday, because when markets open on Monday, prices go high and they sell high. Magically, they know about that. We have thousands of people killed. Now, we're talking about Israel, Iran, other parts of the Middle East, which, those aren't Americans, but it's war and folks are having to go through and be involved in that as well. And all of that, as I see gas prices come down and then they go back up, we're seeing airline prices go up. Mrs. X is on vacation right now. We were struggling with finding the right ticket prices because of increase in jet fuel prices. And it looks like this might be something in it for the long haul. So this is an opportunity where you have to look at yourself and decide, is this a point where you just start to make the purchases and prep that you need because you just not know where things are going to go from here? And I think the answer for that, at least for me, is yes. I just put in an order for an additional 4 gas masks for my family because at this point, I don't want to continue to wait for prices to come back down for them to make sense for me, for the components that make up the filters and the gas masks themselves, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to continue doing my prep items, even though some of the stuff does cost more, and just continue doing what I got to do because there's just no telling when this is going to end. The reason I know there's no telling that this is going to end because we got reports today that leadership from Iran was in Pakistan. And once again, we sent another delegation, or we're about to send another delegation of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner over to Pakistan to do negotiations to see if we can get a permanent ceasefire. Iran was like, I don't know why you sending them niggas over here. We ain't about to negotiate with them. Boy, what you talking about? And we're just being told like, nah, they're going to capitulate. They're going to negotiate. Don't you worry. They're going to get on the plane. And lo and behold, Iran got their asses back on their planes with a military escort and went back to Iran or to Oman or Russia, wherever the hell they were going, instead of waiting in Pakistan for the U.S. delegation, which means to me, they see their leverage. It went from a regime that was just there to survive. There's a possibility that we went from one Ayatollah to his son, and he may be gravely wounded, but he still has his mind and he's giving orders of things that they want to do. They went from being in survival mode to leverage mode. They probably didn't know with laying a few dozen, maybe 100 or so mines in the Strait of Hormuz and attacking a few ships here and there with your fast attack boats, which are hard to find against coastlines, that you would be able to influence the world economy. Probably something they didn't think about. Was there similar things that happened during the Iran and Iraq war? Yes. During that conflict, during that war, they were attacking some commercial vessels, but not to the point where they shut down the entire Strait of Hormuz. Not only that, we're seeing other nations, which are seeing like, hey, if they did it, maybe we can do it as well. Indonesia thinking about it with the Strait of Malacca. And now we're seeing like other nations, hypothetically, not saying it's going to happen, but Chile and Argentina down in South America, as you cross near Argentina, like maybe we can log jam that. Maybe Australia's going to like, heck yeah, maybe we're going to log jam everything between us and New Zealand in the southern part of Indonesia. Maybe we just start getting folks maybe near Gibraltar and Spain and Portugal, like, you know, and Morocco in the northern countries in North Africa, like, heck yeah, let's do the same thing. The end of rules-based international order, I think, has started because of this war. So what does that really mean? That really means that we have to just prepare ourselves to do whatever you planned on doing. If there are things you planned on buying that were dependent on what's going on in other parts of the world, petroleum-based items such as new tires for your truck, rubber items, fertilizers, helium, prices have gone up on that stuff. And this technically might be buying the dip for you as an individual. You might have to make those decisions that I need this shit and I'm just going to make the purchase. You may notice on this channel, I talk about geopolitical stuff that could affect your prep. And I talk about everyday carry and general man type shit, because I think they're correlated. Because in order for you to get the newest fancy knife or something like that, you know, these things are imported or done domestically, but prices around the world affect everything from raw materials such as steel and titanium, or even things that are composite materials. Everything's affected when the world is just going in chaos. And now we're getting reports as well as that a strongly worded letter from the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, instructing his military to get ready to do some crazy ass strikes in Lebanon again. And so Hezbollah is back in the targets. I don't know if this is just going to stop. I don't think Iran is going to go full balls to the wall in war, because they can't. I don't think they have the ability. But as I mentioned in a video probably a week ago, us doing this blockade in the Strait of Hormuz is probably affecting 25% of their GDP. Now, it is the part of their GDP that makes them prosperous, but it's not a part of their GDP that keeps the country 100% needing to come to their knees, groveling and begging. The president says he canceled the upcoming negotiations because they sent a letter and they were doing some concessions, but it wasn't quite good enough. Is that true? I don't know. But if 75% of your country is still thriving and doing okay because of trade with Iraq, trade with Pakistan, trade with Turkmenistan, the Caspian Sea opens up layers with trade with Georgia and Russia, why would you feel the need, especially if your people are not uprising, to do anything and concessions wise? You got to remember, a lot of Iranian citizens get checks from the government as long as the government is prospering. So if checks start to dwindle, that doesn't mean that the people uprise. They are just going to blame us. They're going to say, well, but for you guys cutting off the strait, my bank account would be just right. We're seeing medical supplies still getting into the country. We're seeing food still getting into the country. We're still seeing civilian infrastructure being A-OK. And I think the next big step on this step in this is going to be, first, limited ground scale is what we're going to see next, is what we're going to hear next. We're going to do a limited ground scale thing here. This is my next prediction. Okay. My next prediction is, I think that some of our strategic planners are going to see the Venezuelan model and they're going to try to do the same thing. The Venezuelan model is, we went in the dead of night. We extracted the president. We took very few casualties, came back with basically all our equipment. And now Venezuela does basically whatever the hell we need them to do. I can see a scenario where we try to go into Iran and we take IRGC leadership as well as leadership within the parliament and try to extract them out the country and take that as a W and say, you're going to do what we tell you to do. But you got to remember, Venezuela was a lot of precision, skill, training, but also a lot of luck, because there's rumors that we jammed the entire nation and we were able to do blackouts, strategic blackouts with some type of technology that we don't even know about. And we were able to get in there and get out of there. Is that going to be the same results if we tried the same thing in Iran? I don't know. What I do know is that I don't be surprised if come late Sunday, early Monday, we get some random report from Axios that says negotiations are looking great and oil prices go back down again. Is this a manipulation of the markets? I don't know. But the TikTok, the play-by-play that is happening with this war is something that's going to consume us if we can continue to do that. So for me personally, I think that we are in this, we bit off more than we can chew. And if it was me, as much as a L I think it would be taking if I did this, I would probably just pull chalks. Like, it's none of my damn business if they get a nuclear weapon. Let the countries in that region figure that shit out. You know, same thing happened with North Korea. And, you know, nuclear proliferation is something that we may not be able to stop through might and through force, and let them figure that shit out. Bring the $2 billion a day that we're spending on that war back over here, spending on things that I care about, from infrastructure to medical costs to getting the price of my groceries down. That's something I'm really worried about with a family of 7. Not only that, but I worry about all the time with the Marines that are still active duty that joined the Marine Corps when I joined in 2006. Some of them joined before me. Some of them joined after me, and they're still in. Some of them now master sergeants. Some of them now are first sergeants. Some of them have crossed over. They became Mustangs and they're officers. And they're still having to prepare for deployments, and they're not sure what the end result is. We're also seeing reports of malnutrition of some of our sailors and Marines on some of these vessels that are in the Middle East with lack of resupplies. And we have troops that are losing weight. Now, these are reports, and I'm looking for more accurate reporting. It's hard to get that stuff because a lot of these vessels are in what's called River City. River City is when there's deliberate blackout of these ships with transponders turned off. And if you're not a certain rank, or if you don't have a need to know, there is no way for you to do communications. You're not getting mail calls, you're not getting packages, and you're also not sending emails out. You're not able to check your Facebook. You're not able to get on Instagram. You're not able to do any of that crap. So when we get leaks, it has to be from someone or some people that have the ability to get that information out. We see random photos of what looks like, you know, prison lunch trays. That's the type of trays that you get on a military ship because they're easy to clean. Who's the person disclosing that information? And one thing I miss are the days when we weren't told everything every single day. We're told every day an update, and markets and things moves and decisions you make, they happen because of what you're told daily. In the past, whether it was under Bush or Obama, I guess maybe under Biden as well, you know, leaks came out and we had to kind of like read between the lines. You know, we see a vessel going here, we see a leak, we think this is about to happen, but we're seeing stuff being told to us every day, which quite frankly, I don't even know if it's 100% true. And then you make decisions about your daily life based on those things that you're told. Are we going to do a diplomatic effort to shut this shit down? I hope so. That's the best way to go. Go ahead, take that L It's not a scarlet letter that you wear for the rest of your life. It's just something that can bring this thing to an end. And hindsight being 2020, it's kind of an L what happened last year during Operation Midnight Hammer, the 10-day war, where we did a lot of bombing. We hit them with some B-2 bombers, but there are still reports that they have 10 tons of uranium. How much of it is enriched? I don't know. Enriched rather, I don't know. So that looks like sort of an L, where if they're able to dig their shit out, continue enrichment, and they've been able to do a lot of this since Midnight Hammer till now, that looks like an L. And every time we get involved in this stuff over there, I really feel like Boo Boo the Fool a little bit. Now, I don't know if y'all know who Boo Boo the Fool is. I don't know who that nigga is, but I don't want to be Boo Boo the Fool. Okay. And so for me personally, I like the fact that we can pull back, and I don't want to be completely an isolationist. You know, I still want to help every now and again. If we can supply a country that has crazy amounts of AIDS with condoms to try to bring that down, do shit like that. If we can help a country build some roads because peace through soft power might be helpful, do shit like that, right? Don't let China just do everything. But always getting into kinetic and active warfare doesn't seem to be the playbook. I don't have a direct parallel in history to say this nation did it in blase blah AD and look what happened to them. I can't go back and look and see what happened to the Romans, or I can't go back and look and see what happened to parts of the United Kingdom when they were all over the place, and they've of course shrunken down over the decades. I can't say those nations stuck their nose in business militarily and it didn't work out for them, because a lot of them were about conquering. And it seems like we're going towards the conquering route, which I will have some parallels for that. But for this whole like quasi, we're going to hit you and get you to do what we want you to do, I see the United States as being like the only ones that have tried this shit since we've been in intervention since 1776, #bars. Maybe I'm wrong. My prediction was 6 weeks, this will be over. I think I am 70% right and 30% wrong. 6 weeks, the kinetic activity felt over, but I thought it was over, like Operation Midnight Hammer over, where we left and we were going to be calling it quits. I was wrong about that. We're no longer doing daily missions and 1,000 strikes a week of dropping bombs on Iran, but we're still tied up. I mean, they still are like giving samples of what they're able to do when it comes to bringing down crippling power. And that's something that I'm super duper worried about. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.